Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Running Tales podcast. It's Craig Lewis here, and well, you'll notice a few differences today if you're me, and if you're Instagram. And I've obviously got my Running Tales merch on, which you should go and grab yourself as well. Now, if you're catching up on Spotify or elsewhere, well, first of all, where have you been? And welcome. Now, this is all part of our new partnership with Run Bike Try and their Everyday Athlete podcast network. And I'm actually really proud and excited to be part of this new collaboration. That said, they've only given me an hour per episode to chat. So if you want to know a little bit more about how it's all working, go to the show notes, go to whatever social network network media you're on, that you've come to. Absolutely brilliant Running Tales guests today, and I want to get to them as quickly as possible. Just a couple of quick bits of housekeeping first. Number one, if you are watching this live and you've got a burning question, then be sure to add it in the comments wherever you're listening. We'll try and get to it and get you an answer. Secondly, a quick warning: this episode will probably include some references to suicide. Now you can join us again when we're back in the feel for time. We'd love you to stay, but we appreciate that those topics can be hard for people. So just wanted to warn you about that up front. So who are these brilliant guests? Now, Rohan Kallicharan has just celebrated two massive milestones, his 50th birthday and reaching 100 marathons. I'll let you decide which are the biggest of those. But while those achievements are reasons enough for us to chat to him on Running Tales, they come against the backdrop of mental health issues that have featured a diagnosis of bipolar disorder and some suicide attempts. Now, through incredible resilience and his ongoing strength, Ro has confronted those issues to become a healthier and happier person. Jim Hall is our second guest today, and Jim's acquaintance with running used to be confined to a local 10K, the odd part run. Work, and before he knew it, and taken 2 minutes off an already very good 5K time. He's really embraced the sport since then, joining Shrewsbury Athletics Club with the aim of becoming the best version of himself running wise. PBs have tumbled, distances have increased, and the world has become Jim's running oyster. But what is the connection between these two incredible runners? Now, to find out, we need to do two things. We need to go back in time to last year's London Marathon, and we need to say hello to Jim and to Rohan.
Hello.
Afternoon, guys.
Hello, here they are. How are you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, very well.
All good, thank you.
Good stuff. So, Jim, I don't know if it might be best to start with you on this story at the London Marathon, because you were off hitting a decent time, but you came into that bit towards the end of the marathon where your legs are no doubt aching and so on. And I think it's probably fair to say that the wheels started to come off.
It was a bit of a different one, actually, because I'd say, obviously, as you mentioned in the build up to it, I'm quite new to all this. So it was literally my third marathon, unlike my great mate there who's run 100 of them. Bonkers. But I had to go at sub 3 years ago at Chester. So it must have been 2 years ago, 2022. All on for it. Very hot day for the time of year. About 24.5 miles. I've just my brain popped. Honestly, I just get so hot. It's a thing that happens to me. Struggled along the last mile and a half and did like 3:04:50. So got good for age for London. Last year did London. Got knocked off my bike about 12 weeks before it, so I ended up with an 8-week marathon training block. Changed my plan. 3:15 to just get good for age. And I did 3:04:43. Lovely day, chucking it down with rain. Absolutely beautiful. No overheating for me or anything. And then this year, great training block. Going to get sub 3. Well, aim for sub 3. And it was fantastic, but I could just feel myself getting hot. And I did a Johnny Brownlee moment. I sort of hit the fountain by outside Buckingham Palace, and I could just feel myself getting hot. And all of a sudden, it's like you're drunk. And it's just the most bizarre feeling. My legs were absolutely fine, but I just felt drunk. and all of a sudden you just get crazy legs. And obviously that's where Row came to, when the story continues. But that's, I was on for it. If it was 26.1 miles, I'm sure me and Row would never have met, and it would be a terrible story. But yeah, it's just ridiculous.
So Row, maybe you want to come in at this point and tell us what you found awaiting you, I suppose, as you came into the final parts of that marathon.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose, and again, a slightly different backdrop for me, in so much that I was coming back. I missed the whole of 2022 with an Achilles injury. So I did run London in 2023, had a lot of fun doing it. And in many respects managed to almost repair a relationship with running, which had gone astray for a little while. And it was great. I came into London just totally relaxed, no real targets, other than to have a lot of fun, enjoy it, and just see where it goes. Certainly didn't expect to be anywhere close to where Jim would have been. I probably went in knowing that, look, if all goes well, all goes to plan, probably around 3:05, something like that. And obviously I went over the start line just before Jim, because I was never going to attack 3 hours. But as it was, I was coming around at around 3:01, which I was over the moon with. So I'd run up Birdcage Walk, heard my wife somewhere along the way, and yeah, it's the most iconic finish in the world, as you go around the spur, past the statue, and then onto the mile. And it was at that point where, just ahead of me, probably I'd have said probably about 20 or 30 meters ahead of me at the time, I saw someone, just struggling and, looking in discomfort, as I put it. And certainly, Jim describes it as drunk, and actually that's a pretty good description. Just literally wobbly legs, looked as if he could go over at any point in time. What I couldn't believe was that no one else was stopped in about the 5 or 6 seconds, which just seems flash, to be honest. So many people ran past, and as I got closer, I was kind of like, right, no one's going to stop. I've got to stop. And first and foremost, there's 2 things. I'm not going to paint myself as a saint here. If I was at a point where I was 2:59:30 on my watch, would I have done the same thing? I'd love. I think I probably would have done. I genuinely do think I would have done, because ultimately it comes down to being a human being. I wouldn't, if I was out on a training run, if I was out walking, and I walked past another human being, and who looked as if they could face plant at any moment in time, I'm not going to walk past them, and I wasn't going to run past Jim at that point. It was a really easy thing to do, just stop. And Jim probably remembers it slightly better. I know we've spoken about it before, and my recollection, I put an arm around him. It's kind of like, right, mate, what can I do? How can I help you here? Because again, do you want me to carry you forward? Do you just want me to hold you still? What's the best thing? And he just wanted to keep on moving forward. So I managed to get my arm around him and just get us both moving slowly forward towards the finish line, which was literally, it's probably another 40, 50 meters ahead. I think, we moved slowly together in unison, probably about 10, 15 seconds, until the stewards got across, which was difficult for them, because they're trying to kind of like come across where there's people running through, and they managed to get across. And it was at that point where they got across, and quite politely told me to jog on, and basically the nicest way, which was, look, don't clog everything up here. We'll look after him. You just get to the finish line and finish your race. And that's where I thought the story ended. But social media had other ideas.
Yeah, and I'm just interested, and perhaps you can come in at this point, Jim, on I don't know, this is probably the wrong word, but like the ethics around stopping to help someone like that, because I think some people would be like, no, please don't help me, I want to finish myself under my own steam, and others are just, you know, as you say, Ray, you don't want someone to kind of face plant and so on. So it's almost a bit of an ethical conundrum, isn't it? And I don't know what you thought, Jim. Were you like, I just need help, or were you like, go away, I want to finish this race?
I think the thing for me was I've had this happen before. This is why it happened to me, Village Bakery half marathon, which is in Wrexham, around about sort of 50 minutes up the road from me. It's quite a big half marathon. And the first time it happened to me, I didn't know what was going on. And I tried to run through it and I just face planted. And I was like, wow, got up, tried to run again. And I thought, no, I'm falling over here. So the best thing with this was I knew what was going to happen. It was almost like your head weighs 15 stone and your body weighs 2 stone. It's not going to hold you up. So although I know exactly what you're saying, when Rose said to me, said, what can I do for you? And I said, just hold me upright. My legs are working, but my face is going to hit the ground. So I was happy because I was so frustrated because you put all this effort in. I got a minute in the bag. I was going to do 2:58 something. It was all going to be great. And then, as Rose said, it was 50 yards. It may as well have been a mile because it just looked so far away. I was like, you're joking me. It just got further away. For me personally, I helped me because it was just keep me upright. There's no carrying me or anything. It's just keeping your top bit upwards. So no, I was very happy, and I've got no problems ethically with it at all. Because on my it now says 2:59:57. If I'd have had to have done it on my own, I'd have been crawling, and I might still have done it, but it would have been there'd have been cuts and bruises, I think. So I've been run a bit. So yeah, I didn't want that.
And Ro, for you, you obviously continued. You made it to the end.
Yeah.
You didn't know whether Jim had to stop that close to the line, whether he'd made it to the finish, what had happened to him.
No.
I don't even know at that point whether you knew what sort of. Well, you must have known he was somewhere around that 3-hour mark, but you didn't know how close he was to his goal. So you put this post up on social media.
Yeah. So I, we got to the finish, and I'm really blessed to know a number of the guys who volunteer at the end. So I caught up with a few with a few friends who are doing the baggage trucks and so on. And I always make a habit of just going around and applauding and thanking as many of the volunteers and marshals as possible, because ultimately it's the greatest day of our year, and we don't get to do it without everything that other people put in on our behalf. So I did that, and then unusually I was able to get a phone signal fairly quickly afterwards. So I've rung my wife to check on, because she was tracking one of my best mates who was probably about half an hour behind me. And she's kind of like, he's doing quite well. We'll wait round on the mall, get round to us. So I'm kind of like, okay, let's do that. So I've gone round there, and then it was probably a couple of hours later, just once once the dust settles on everything, once your head just clears from, I think, the euphoria of the day. And I think this also feeds into, and again, the last thing I ever want to do is paint myself as some saint. I'm just a human being who looks after other people, much like a number of other human beings out there. But because I didn't think of what I'd done as being this special, huge thing, all I thought of it was being a human being and looking after someone. I didn't think hugely of it. And it was only a couple of hours later, I was just kind of like, crikey, how's this guy? I wonder how he is. How's he getting on? And I remember we'd gone up to Sports Cafe to watch my beloved football club, who were on the TV that afternoon. So having some food, watching football, and I was very much, I remember saying, I've got to find out how this guy's got on, and wasn't really sure how do I do it. 50,000 runners. What on earth are you going to do? And then, of course, my wife, it was kind of like, what about looking at the BBC Finish cameras? So went home that evening, had a quick look, and managed to get a screen grab of actually way in the distance, me and Jim. And I have to admit, again, I thought long and hard about whether I posted it or not, because number one, I don't want to kind of like post something to sugarcoat my own ego, but also I didn't want to post something of a human being that I'd literally met for 30 seconds in a difficult situation, in case they didn't appreciate it either. But I just put it out there, and it was just before I went to bed, just to say, look, you know, managed to support this guy for near the finish line on you know, this morning. Does anyone know, you know, get a message to him, is he all right? That's all I want to know, is he all right? Woke up the next morning and my Twitter had gone absolutely ballistic, and amongst them all was a message from a certain Jim Hall saying, yeah, that's me, thank you so much, pal. And you know, it all started from there.
Yeah, and of course, Jim, it had been a happy ending, if that's the right phrase for you, because you'd not only made it to the end, but you'd hit that 3-hour target and broken that time barrier, which is just such a fantastic time. I can dream of getting close to that. So
no, I was well chuffed. Absolutely, just it's one of them. You just work so hard for it. Marathon training. I say Roe doing all these marathons. I don't know how he does it, but the training kills me. It's just tons of it. I've run literally about an hour before this started. It's absolutely fine, but marathon training is different. You've just got it all set out, your plan. It's like, how do I get this in around life? So yeah, it's just like a culmination, isn't it? And then the bit with Roe as well, because fair play to him putting the message on, is something I probably would have thought about the next day, because I'd finished, and then you have that moment, and as Rose says, you say thank you to people. I've got the added thing that my watch is telling me I've done 3 hours and 2 seconds, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna have to do it again, sort of thing. But so I'm getting my bag so I can get my phone and switch my phone on, and the first text that come through was off London Marathon. It just says your time is 2, and I thought, I don't care what the rest says, it says 2. The first numbers are 2. But so I had all that lot. So, but then I was meeting my fiance Tammy, and then like Connor, who's my best mate, son-in-law, coach, and he's going, how'd you do? And it's just, as you say, the euphoria, like the big man hugs and the tears, because what you aimed at, you've got it, and it's incredible. And then obviously there must have been about 20 of us from Shrewsbury AC down in London, so you have the night out. But like Rose said, it's something I definitely would have done, because I say he saved my life. He didn't save my life, but he did really. But you just want to say thank you, don't you? Of course you do. You know, find out who this wonderful person is. But I went on Twitter, and I don't go on Twitter that much anymore since the adverts appeared. It drives me around the bend. But I must have had about, it's ridiculous, like 4,000 notifications, and I thought, have I missed something here? and in amongst it, so the first one's Road. Anybody know this bloke? So mates of mine going, is this you, Jim? And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's not my best picture, but it's me. So message Row, and then it was just ridiculous. Honestly, I felt like a celebrity, to be honest, with all the notifications. Just ping, 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 ping. But it was just something else.
And one of my favourite parts about this story is not only the fact that you achieved that goal, not only the fact that Row was he probably won't like this expression, but he was the Good Samaritan who helped you to achieve that. But was that, since that point, you've kept in contact with each other, and as we so often do in this running world, you've almost sort of become running friends just from that chance meeting.
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, that's what I like about running. I love, you go out running and you see another runner and you say, "You're right, mate." You waved, unless you're doing an effort, and then you go, "Ooh." But it annoys me when I see a runner and they don't wave. I'm like, really? We're all in the same boat here, like. So, but something like this is incredible. It's top bloke.
I'll make sure I don't take you running around Battersea Park or Clapham Common. The ratio is probably about 1 in 3. No, well, Jack, Jim's absolutely right, though. It's I think running as a community is a very, very special community. And I mean, Craig, obviously we met in person for the first time at the end of the Country to Capital Ultra earlier this year, and you meet so many incredible people on that journey. And obviously there are certain moments which are going to stick with you for a very long time. And the kind of moment that Jim and I had, it's obviously going to be very special to us both, and particularly special to Jim because he achieved an incredible goal. I mean, it's an incredible achievement for any runner, but for someone who's only taken up running a few years ago, to achieve that, absolutely awesome. And ultimately,
you didn't mention I was old.
No, I mean, age is just a number, mate. Age is
Definitely.
just a number. From my point of view, I think Good Samaritan piece I'm very comfortable with. I'm a Christian anyway, so for me to, if I could play a small part in helping another human being towards achieving that moment that they've worked so hard for, that's just a privilege for me.
I think going Jim, back to the bit as well with Roe, I'm sorry, I was just going to say quickly with Roe, and something I was meant to mention before, when he said about what he could do for me when I was saying about holding me upright, and he handed me over to the marshals. There's some cracking photos because I had to buy the pictures for the marathon to see where it all went wrong, because in my head I was like, where did it really go wrong? And you can see it's like a horrible slideshow as I go from runner to drunk man. But the marshals, as much as they were amazing, it almost looks like they're arresting me. Those pictures, and I'm hunched over, and they've got my arm behind me as if they're just about to, cuff me. But this is where a runner knows what you want, and he's keeping me upright so I can keep momentum. Whereas it felt like them guys were dragging me backwards. I'm like, let me go. So no, it's great that us runners know what the other runners want and all that. So enjoy that.
Yeah. Definitely, I mean that's an interesting. Runners know runners, don't we? And that's really interesting. But I mean, actually, I mean this in a way applies to you as well, Ro. But I was going to come to you first on it, Jim. Is you weren't always a runner. You came to running fairly later in life, certainly more seriously as you're doing now. Tell people that story, because I think it was COVID which pushed you in the direction of really having a go at improving your running.
Yeah, definitely. So when I was at school, I was decent at it at school. So we're talking 80s then. So there wasn't not as many things to do as nowadays. So quite good at it at school. But finished school, and snooker really took off. Played that to a decent standard. Football, so the running just disappeared for years. Literally didn't do it. And then it was a bit of like Shrewsbury 10K started. So it's like, well, do you know what? I'll do that once a year. Rattle round in sort of 48, 49, 50 minutes, something like that. Quite happy with that, with the old football shorts on, and just the old Medidas Sambas, as they used to say, and did all that lot. And then it just started doing a few park runs, and I was thinking, yeah, do you know what, I quite like this. And I'm just rattling along at it and sort of getting it down. Sort of, I think I just nipped below 20 minutes in 2019. So I was well chuffed with that, honestly. It was like literally everything I had in my body to get down to that. My 10K was 40 minutes sort of thing. I got that down. I was quite chuffed with that. Marathon was like an hour 40. And I was thinking, you know what, I've done all right here. But then COVID hit, as you said. And I played a lot of pool and a lot of billiards. So with that goes a bit of drinking as well. Not, never been a big boy, but definitely like a pint when I'm playing pool or billiards. And that stopped as well. So I was lucky enough to work on the railway. So that was great. But one outdoor activity every day. And I was thinking, yeah, do you know what? I was really lucky that my stepson-in-law to be, Connor, moved in with us because it was the one household thing. Fantastic runner, run to Shrewsbury AC. He's your 16-minute 5K job and all that lot. He's very good, bless him. Does a 2:40 marathon, is disappointed. That kind of thing. And he said, come running with me. So he was my running buddy then. So we had, I don't know how long of it, year or so of it, was it? Something like that. And I was like, do you know what? I'm losing some weight here, but eating lots and eating well. And then, yeah, park run started, and all of a sudden I'm toying with like 18 minutes and just under 18 minutes. It's like, oh, okay, this is getting a bit good. Yeah, and then the one morning I woke up and there was a Shrewsbury Athletics Club vest on the side for me with a message, join us. And then that was it. Sort of the rest is history, as they say, for me on my running journey anyway. So, and I think, as I said in a message I sent to you guys, I just want to be the best version of myself. I love a challenge. I love stats. So I just want to keep trying to do as good as I can, so for as long as I can.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
we best not mention part run and stats, but because it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, upset somebody there, won't we?
In terms of your, obviously, it's made you a lot healthier as well. Has it made you a much happier person as too?
Yeah, it's a weird one actually, because obviously I know we're going to touch on the subject and that, but a friend of mine's just brought out a football book, for obviously my Queen of the South thing we mentioned before, and he's had sort of mental health problems, and obviously, you know, touching on suicide and stuff like that. And I read that, and I split up with with my children's mum, I don't know, 9 years ago now. I struggled quite a lot with it, but I wasn't a runner at that point, and I'm sort of gutted now, because when I go out running, the fresh air, the views, and all that, you're just in a happy place, and I think it would have done me the world of good then. I'm absolutely gutted I wasn't doing it, because it's amazing. I just love all of it. It's just a happy place. It makes you feel good about yourself. Yeah, it's something about it. I don't know what it is. It's endorphins and all that lot, but it's just incredible. It's just, can't recommend it enough to people.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a kind of similar experiences.
I can see Jim moving, not Craig.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Even more, but it certainly acts, I think, as something that helps you as well. And perhaps just coming to your to your story, Ro, I think it's probably fair to say that running has gone as far as saving your life, hasn't it?
I think running's played a huge part. I think look, running's played a significant part in actually, as Jim said, allowing me to be the best I can be. You know, I think I'd already rebuilt my life from the darkest moments. Probably, you know, I think if I go back to 2006, I was age 32. I'd lived with undiagnosed mental illness for around 15 years. And that did lead to multiple attempts to end my own life, because we were living in that time where we didn't really understand mental ill health. We certainly didn't speak about it. And I was at that point where actually I literally had nowhere to turn, really could see no hope, no way out. And actually, more than anything, I thought the people around me would be better off if I wasn't there, because of the impact of my mental ill health on them. And, you know, obviously, that, you know, in that regard, I turned 18 this year, which is great, because I always describe it as, on January the 7th, 2006, I did wake up in hospital alive. I never intended to. And I woke up as a baby boy in a man's body, because I'd never really been able to function as an adult and do the things that we take for granted. Feed myself every day, pay the bills, hold down a job, pay the rent, hold down regular friendships, you know, just even go a few days without the chaos of a manic episode or a depressive episode, have just stable moods, all of those things which I suppose we do take for granted. I'd never been able to do so. You know, age 30, it was a challenge just to teach myself how to live in the way that the world expected me to, and how I expected myself to. And from there, what really happened. And I'd always played a lot of sport when I was a kid. My dad was a cricketer for Warwickshire in the West Indies. I played at a high level. Running was never really something that I excelled at, for want of a better way of putting it. They nicknamed me the Cuban at school because of my cross-country exploits. This was not because I ran around with a cigar or a gun, but mainly because in the Olympics, in the World Championships, I think it was 90 or around 91 or maybe 87 even, there'd been a Cuban lady in one of the long distance heats who finished about 3 laps behind everyone else, and that was pretty much my performance in cross countries, just pretty much jogging in a long way behind everyone else. So I was, as one might affectionately say, nicknamed the Cuban. But I excelled in cricket, excelled in rugby, and excelled in hockey, and it was something that I was very, very lucky to be able to do. But as I got more and more ill, sport took a back seat. So I didn't do anything really serious sport from about the age of 19 through to age 38, 39. Because in those years after the diagnosis and as I went through the recovery journey, my focus was so much on fixing my mental health that actually I'd forgotten to think about the physical. And it took, at the start of 2013, I was at work and I bent over and I basically heard a tear go in a pair of 40-inch waist trousers. This was also the week before I'd been up at football and I'd taken a tumble down a hill and had to travel back from Oldham in the supporters coach, reeking of mud and crap and everything else, and thinking to myself, this is just not a good look. So those two things happened. And actually, I remember with the trouser story, I went to Primark that lunchtime to try and get a replacement, and they didn't have a 40-inch pair of 40-inch waist pair, which was all I could fit in at the time. And it was at that time where, joking aside, it was kind of like, right, now or never. And sometimes there is destiny. Got back to the office, and literally, like any office, you get the flyers coming through the door, normally with a load of crap, and normally someone else in the office gets to them and just chucks them out. As it was, I got to one which had an advert for a new 24/7 gym opening next door to the office, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, fine, and laughed it off. I'm kind of like, yeah, right, as if I'm going near a gym. But the next day, popped in at lunchtime. I said, is it really 24/7? I can get in any time. And he said, yeah, of course you can. So I joined up, and my modus operandi was to get there for about 4:30 in the morning before anyone else was there. Because that way, if I died on the treadmill, no one was going to see me do it. And basically, no one could see me break the thing as well, because at 20 stone, believe me, that was not a pretty sight. So we started on that journey, and then I decided to raise some money for a large mental health charity. And I knew that once anyone donated even a penny, there was going to be no stopping me doing the Manchester Great Run that year, which was the Great Manchester Run back in those days was just a 10K. They still have the 10K, but they have the half now as well. So in May of 2013, I did that first 10K. Boy, was it ugly. And I think I managed to get around those 6.5, I think it was about 6.5 miles by the time I'd done all the dodging of everyone. And I think I did it in about 60 odd minutes. And then from there, I decided, oh, go on then, we'll do a half marathon. And yeah, we know where it's going. The rest, the rest is history. And I think, yeah, running played a huge part in rebuilding my life. And what it did was it taught me life skills. It re-energized me, because I went from, that 20 stone person who would fall asleep, at any point in time, and who was so lackluster and lacking energy, to suddenly being someone who felt alive, but someone who was developing life skills. As a runner, the amount of things that we do, that, being agile. So we solve problems on the go. We solve problems on the go. We project manage on the go. You go out and, the project management toolkit says, right, I'm going to run my first 5K in 18 minutes here. Oh, crikey, I've done it in 17. What do I do? I've run it in 19. What do I do? So we're constantly making adjustments. We're constantly managing ourselves through. We're constantly showing the resilience to recover from a challenging run or a challenging training session. We're constantly having the growth opportunity to move forward from things that go well. And we're constantly learning how to bring other people into our journey, our club mates, our family, our friends. So there's so many things that have helped me in my professional life and my personal life, which came from running. So when I talk about running didn't save my life, but running did give me a life which I couldn't have dreamt of without it. And we talked about running in football and different things for your mental health. The reality is, for anyone listening here now, obviously most people listening to this podcast they'll be runners, there'll be triathletes, there'll be cyclists, etc. But actually, the message I always give: we have created this world in which we're constantly living in a false sense of anxiety. We're constantly worrying about tomorrow. We're constantly fretting about yesterday. We never do anything which allows us just to live in the moment. Running, I get to be in the moment, because once I will go for a run after we finish recording this, and once I get out there, I'm not going to worry about something I said here, which may not have come across brilliantly. I'm not going to worry about my meeting tomorrow morning. I'm just going to live in that moment and be, because tomorrow will look after itself and today's already gone. And that's what running really does for me. In the same way that football does the same for me. I'm a deep introvert, and running gives me my alone time. Oddly enough, when I'm one of 60,000 people at Anfield, it also gives me my alone time, because I'm part of something big and really special, but actually I'm just on my own. I'm the kid, I'm on that field kicking every ball with them. I'm living that experience through my own mind, and again, I lose myself. How do I, it's all about what are the things that allow you to lose yourself. So that could be that could be how do it could be running, it could be doing a try, it can be watching football, it can be cooking, it could be reading a book. But what are the things which allow you to lose yourself in that moment? And I think it's so important.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm hearing from our friends at Run Bike Try in the background here that your comment there has just inspired Jason, who's producing this, to go out right after this show and go for a run himself. So a little bit of inspiration there straight away. But Jim, I know your journey's obviously not been the same in terms of facing down some of the things that Rose had to face down, but do you find that kind of freedom from running yourself, and do you find that it's changed?
I'm quite lucky with my life. I think when I actually look what I've got now, it's with work, I've been in my job 31 years. Home life's great, kids are great most of the time. So I think it's. So I struggle with people, as in your modern people nowadays. We just touched on it then about part run and stats. I struggle with some of the new generation, the easily offended. I struggle a bit with that. I'm a bit old school. Don't get me wrong, we don't fat shame or all the other bits and pieces, still very polite and all that lot. But I think it's my release from things like that. I can just go out. I haven't got to worry about people getting upset because they've put times on part run or because this flag's a different color. So for me, it is just that bit. I think if I go out running with friends and we have a good old nat, or if I go out on my own, I get the aftershocks on and get some tunes going. And it is just that. It's just your own little space, isn't it? It's lovely. You can pick your route. I'm fortunate enough in Shrewsbury to within a mile. I'm in the countryside if I want to be, or I can run around the streets. But yeah, so for me, it's very different to Rose, but it's still the headspace just to get away from life as it is at the moment and how everything's so important. So yeah, it's good for me like that.
Yeah,
we all need
Go on.
that. We all need that space, which is our own. I think it's so important, and again, my wife's amazing. She's so supportive of my running, and again, she understands that she gets a better version of me when I've had that processing time, which running gives me just that time of being. So I think for anyone, Jim and I, of course, are disciples of the running way of doing it, but ultimately it's finding that thing which allows you to be the very best version of you. And I think I'll go back to I'll die on the hill of the way that Jim phrased that, because that's what running really allows us to be.
Sorry, I think I lost you for a second there, but I was just going to bring in a little comment here that we've been given, talking Class Network. He says he kind of agrees with what you were saying, Ro. In fact, what you were both saying, running makes you present in the moment, and says that's a beautiful sentiment, which I think is really true. But we've mentioned it a couple of times. Let's talk about stats quickly, because we'll get to your stats in a moment, Ro, because they, as I hinted at the start, are pretty impressive. But Jim, I know that your stats, you're looking to get the best you can as a runner. Your stats have got considerably better in the last few years, and that you're smashing out some crazy part run times now.
Yeah, they're going all right nowadays. So I got a 17:51 on week last Saturday, as you know, because we had a little group chat, didn't we? I don't know where that came from, but it'd been brewing, to be fair. I've been rattling around just over 18s literally since I got knocked off my bike. That's mad. That was January last year. And I bruised my ribs, and I used to laugh at people when they bruise their ribs. I was like, come on, it's just bruised ribs, but it was horrendous. The breathing, and it took me ages to get back to somewhere, and I just seemed to be 1806, 1807, 1810, 1811, 1806. And I was like, I'm never going to get under 18 again. I'm too old. It's not going to happen. And then, as you know, in the little group chat week last Saturday, 17:51, I was like, oh, joint course PB, that'll do. So and just everything else, like it's sort of 36:01 for a 10K and a 121.5. It's doing all right. So I'm feeling confident again now. I had a little bit of a waver, as in, am I going to touch them times again? I'm confident again now that I think with a bit more Coach Connor helping and running around with my mate James, who's just going from strength to strength. I think they can drag me around, and we can do a bit more damage, hopefully, but while staying on my bike and not getting knocked off, which would definitely help.
Yeah. And do you have any? Are your goals to just keep working on those times, or do you have any bigger, wider goals? Is it?
No, I think it's just the as I said before, and you've touched on, just the best version of myself. I do obviously have the power of 10 and the Run Britain rankings and all that lot, and I do have a look at them and stuff like that. See, I'm ranking in Shropshire or whatever it may be, and cursing a bloke called Paul Jones who's round here and he's just superhuman my age, but doing 16-minute park runs, sub 16-minute park runs, which is just bonkers. But yeah, it's just that I just want the best version of myself. And I always said to my kids I'd live till I was 100. So I've got another 48 years. So I need to keep fit for that. So just to prove that I was right.
Yeah, and talking goals, Ro, you have just achieved the most spectacular, reaching 100 marathons as you reached your 50th birthday. I am in awe. How did that feel?
Oh, mate, it was pretty surreal, but just a hugely special day, and it was such a joy that quite a few of my friends were able to come down and run, including a few who I'd run my first marathon with, a few from the Clapham Pioneers Running Club, and just family and friends. So it was a really special special day. And look, I'm not quite sure where that goal ever came from. I suppose there's always going to be that that streak in me, which, with no kind of pun intended, with the manic phases of bipolar will come a tendency to reach for the outrageous. But actually, I was really lucky to get introduced to Rick Verco at Phoenix Running, and Rick, he's through Phoenix and the Global Marathon Challenges has really provided opportunities for people to go for outlandish challenges. I mean, I go back to 2022, 2021 actually, when my plan was to do 5 in 5 days, but as it was, I did 3 in 3 days because we'd had a bereavement in the family. And then I got injured in 2022, and in many respects, I stopped thinking about run streaks and hitting 100 marathons, because actually, after I recovered from the Achilles injury, and at that point I'd run 53 marathons, I was fairly comfortable that that would be it for me. That really I wasn't likely to run 26.2 miles again. And last year happened, which was I was actually not working for most of last year. I ended up with a career break, which was mainly voluntary, but then it lasted a bit longer than I'd wanted it to, and that just gave me time and space to run, because I didn't have too much else to keep me going. And July the 14th. And by that point, yes, I was on 53 marathons. I'd started the year on 50, and I'd done London, Brighton, and one other. So I turned up to Walton-on-Thames, where Phoenix do their events on the Thames Path, and I turned up, and it was to do 3 in 3 days to match what I'd done in 2021, and to raise some money for the mental health charity. So I did the 3 in 3 days and realised that I felt great, still in good shape. And of course, I didn't have to go to work the next day. And there was another event down in Staines. And I'm like, oh, let's go and do 4 in 4. And of course, it went on and on and on until the following Sunday, I'd ended up doing the accidental 10 in 10. Or as Rick and the guys in Phoenix call it, I'd become an accidental tit. So 10 in 10 days achieved, up to 63 marathons, and then suddenly it went off in my head, and I was just kind of like, "Ooh, hang on, let's just aim for something a bit outrageous here," and that's where it started. So reached the 100 on the 1st of June. Actually did 101 Saturday. So the plan is I've now done 48 in just under 48 weeks. And I'm trying to squeeze in the remaining 4 to hit the 52 and 52 week streak by July the 11th. So watch this space. But I think what it's allowed me to do actually is my ego had created a toxic relationship with running for a while. And actually I became paralyzed every time I went to an event because I was scared that I was going to be crap, or that I wasn't going to run well, and that people were going to find out that when I'd done a couple of sub 3s back in 2017, it was all a bit of a fluke, and all of those things. And I'd ruined what was such an amazing, fun thing to do by suddenly having targets. And therefore, coming back from the injury, it was awesome because I just had freedom, because I no longer cared about times. I no longer cared about, performances. It's just about having fun. And actually, where I've got to now is that, the marathons I do on the towpath, they are just long runs. They're long training runs with a lot of fun, and I still, make sure that I target a couple of races a year, and London happened to be one of them this year, and I'll target one more later in the year. I'm no longer worried about trying to qualify with good for age, but equally, I know that if I can stay fit, train well, and be in good condition for those 1 or 2 races a year, I know I'm naturally going to run well anyway. I certainly didn't expect to knock out a 3:02 at London. And that's awesome, because obviously now that I've turned 50, my good for age windows has changed by 5 minutes or so. So if I can knock out another a 3:03 or 3:04 in one of the autumn marathons, that's going to be super exciting for me. But ultimately, it's just about having fun, and actually most importantly is I get to go out with a group of like-minded people and take them on their journeys, and just enjoy that. I get to share the experience with my mates at Clapham Pioneers Running Club, and believe me, there's people crazier than me there as well. And I think that's where you see how special the running journey is. It's not the numbers at the end. The numbers at the end will happen. The numbers at the end will naturally happen. But ultimately, it's the journey, and it's the people that come on the journey with you. People like Jim, people like yourself, people like the people like those I run with on the Thames Path, every weekend. They'll last forever. The numbers will be long gone, but the people and the journey, they will stay with me till the day when I finish running, and the day when I'm no longer here. And I think that's what I've been able to take from this last 12 months and feed back into the running journey, that the numbers will come, but actually just embrace every moment and make the most of it when we still can.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, if I just maybe throw that back, I'm guilty of this as well. I'm not even sure if guilty is the right phrase, but you're a bit of a stats man. But I know that also you love your time with Shrewsbury Athletics Club. I mean, what's your kind of thoughts on some of what Ro was going through there in terms of that balance between almost running for fun and running for times?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite funny, it is, because I went out for an hour before, just 7 miles, nice and steady, enjoying it, looking around, music on, absolutely loving it. But then it's that every now and again you've got to push yourself, haven't you? You've got to have that race to give it a good go and all that lot. And I think it's nice. I'd love to do a marathon like Ro's done and just not worry about the time. Just enjoy it. Wave at the crowd and whoop your arms around and all that lot. But I'm just not at that point yet. It's just I don't know how many I've got, because I'm not doing 100 marathons. I've done 3 proper ones and 1 virtual. So if I get to 15 marathons, I'm probably going to have done well, because 1 a year is plenty for me. But it's just as he said, it's just that happy balance, isn't it? I don't don't tend to do that many races because of life and all that getting in the way, and working on Saturdays, football on Saturdays, and stuff that happens. So I think I've got a decent balance, but I do like to push myself when it's like, right, come on, you've got to do a race or you've got to do a park run. There's no point pootling around it. Give it a good go, see what you can do still, and then just enjoy all the other bits around it, hopefully, which is what I try and do. So yeah, dread park runs and races, but you've got to give them a go. And I say to Tammy, my better half, I put her through absolute agony. She hates watching me run because she knows at the end there's every chance I'm going to end up in a medical tent or an ambulance, because I literally just leave everything on the course. Obviously in London, I got it just wrong by a couple 100 yards, but usually I judge it quite well. But I'm sure she's looking forward to the day that I just poot around and not bead a sweat on me when I finish. And she's like, well done. But it's not that time yet, so she's going to have to keep worrying for a while.
And just because we're getting towards the business part of the podcast, the last few minutes, just to you both, perhaps in turn, and I don't mind who takes it first. What would you say to anyone listening to this who perhaps has done a little bit of running, perhaps has done a lot of running, but are just wondering what makes for you what makes running so special and so important in your lives?
Right.
I think. I think there's different seasons for everything. And, in 2017, and I'll always be grateful for it, it was a season of pushing myself to achieve. So, I did my 4 big hairy goals that year, which was sub 20 5K, sub 40 10K, sub 3 hour marathon, and I'd already done the sub 130 half, and that was a full set for me. And it was a wonderful journey. Loved every minute of it. And at the time, what it taught me was that actually, with hard work and with dedication, you can really achieve so much more than you think yourself capable. And again, what the last 12 months has taught me actually is, again, you can achieve so much more, but sometimes the achievement looks very different depending on the season in life. So it's all about, it's like anything. At any given time, what does running play in my journey? And right now, it's to energize, to have fun. Well, it should always be to energize and have fun, but it's about the benefits of being outside. It's about the benefits of friendship. It's about the benefits of the journey. Whereas back at that time, it was about the benefits of pushing myself and seeing the results. And at any point in time, and I think this is where, to answer the question, it's using the mindfulness techniques of really embracing what your mind is telling you at any point in time about running can do for you, and embrace those benefits, because it might change tomorrow. But in that moment, take it for what it is.
Yeah, for me, I've just got time for anybody who wants to run, wants to do any activities. Just look after yourselves. As far as I'm aware, I don't know any different, but we probably only live once. Hopefully we don't, but we probably only live once. Look after yourself, do some running, do the 10K steps a day thing. When we finish park run, we make a point of staying there and cheering the other people on, telling them well done. There's people on different journeys, they've just started. For whatever reason, it might be health, or mental health. It's just fantastic. As I said, anybody, I'll talk to people and go, God, I might have seen you running, wow, and all that lot. And I'm like, yeah, but you're running, you're doing amazing. Like, keep doing it. And things change. You might get caught in a pandemic and decide you can't play pool and billiards and stop drinking, and might start doing stupid things as well and being an absolute addict of running. But Yeah, I just time for anybody, and I will literally sit and talk to anybody about it. I can see people running for the hills when I come sometimes, and it's like, oh dear. But no, but honestly, yeah, it's brilliant, and what you guys do in Ace as well. So, and well done to Rowan, his 100 marathons, and lunatic.
I've got a medical certificate that says so, mate, to be honest. So I can get away with it.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I mean, I've Jason is saying to me down the line here that the two responses you've just given are exactly why he and Elm founded and came on board with Run Try Bike, and why they do what they do, and why they like to big up the everyday athlete and just talk to people, build that bigger table of running, and get more and more people involved to enjoy this sport that we enjoy so much. And anyone listening to this, you know, when we're talking about goals, obviously with Ro and Jim, that their goals are, you know, when they're looking at goals, they're looking at very fast times. They're looking at doing a ridiculous number of marathons in Ro's case. But it doesn't matter if your goal is, you know, your goal boost for that goal. And that yeah, hopefully that makes sense, and that's maybe a nice time for us to come to a logical conclusion. So guys, thank you so much. We're all going to have to meet up and go for an actual run somewhere sometime at some point. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today, and for joining me on Running.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, likewise. Jim, can't wait to see you again soon.
Yeah, definitely, mate. We need to sort it. Now you've stopped running marathons for a while.
Absolutely. Take care, both. Thank you.
Yes.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.